that's cool.
Because I have another. I have, another chair that I ultimately, I don't even know if it's that I bought, an office chair, and it gave
a lot more,
a lot sooner. So it became less comfortable as a result because it just, cheeks.
Gotcha. Eventually, I'll get a new chair. I was thinking Secret Labs because I actually bought the Secret Labs desk, the Magnus desk, not the Pro. I don't need a standing desk, but the desk is really fucking nice, all metal and everything with the nice magnetic topper there. Yeah.
Which is really awesome. I ended up getting my sit stand from Wayfair, but chair is fantastic, and the designs are great. I think the thing I liked most about Secret Labs is that they have so many design options.
But they have so many design options, but they also have the ability to change things. So if like half a year down the road you're like, yeah, I'm not feeling Batman anymore, I can just get a cover to be like, Cyberpunk or something else, whatever new comes out. And I can do the same thing with the desk mat. I can just be like, because I bought the basic, I think they call it the Signature Black edition, which is just, plain black with a little bit of highlights of red and gold. But if down the road I like, they came out with a really cool something or other desk mat, I can just swap it out real quick.
Good
They're
company.
a little expensive, but yeah.
Good company.
That's cool.
Yeah. I would recommend if you decide you want to get it, you can get one. Certainly wish it didn't cost so much. Or, we can, really make it big and then we can get free chairs, but, whatever.
That would be cool. Cody, make that happen.
Cody.
Why is it up to me?
Because you're
the leader of this merry little band.
Yeah, you know people. I don't know people. I know you. I know Taj. I don't know anybody else besides Mike outside of this.
It's a fair assessment.
That's fair, I guess.
You do know all the people though. It's ridiculous the number of people that you know. And I know a lot of people when I'm saying that.
So Taj, this is not going to be obviously a very good visual cue for people listening on an audio podcast, but your T-shirt has the villain size chart on it.
That's really weird. Somebody I know got it for me. I can't quite put my finger on it.
Yeah, I don't know, some fucking piece of shit probably.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously you have like Vader and Megatron, right? So I can't. I don't. In my brain, I don't know who this third one is.
I'm
right
trying
away
to figure that one out too, because immediately my brain went to it. Who is it?
That's Shredder.
Oh,
Shredder.
I see it now.
What
yeah.
is he doing?
He's crouching.
It looks like he's taking a shit.
Yeah, it's a very bizarre one. So when I saw that, that's not what I thought right away. I'm trying
This is the only one I can't figure out.
What's Skeletor?
This is Skeletor.
No,
that's
Skeletor. No,
Skeletor has
Isn't
the horns.
This is Mumra.
Yeah.
Mumra.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then I do.
So who's the? Just because I can't make it out, the one on the far on. So I guess it'd be Taj's right.
This is my
far.
Left. My right.
Yeah, your far right.
That's
Is
Darth
that
Vader.
Darth Vader. Okay.
Yes, that's Vader.
And then on the other side,
Cobra
next
Commander?
To what we now. Oh, Cobra Commander.
This is
Okay.
Cobra Commander.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just because they're so small, it's hard to make out exactly who they are. Okay.
That's cool. I'm good.
So hold on,
And there you have it.
trying to see if I can.
Shredder taking a shit.
Taking a shit, doing something with that right hand of his. I can't make that out.
I don't know what that is
Right?
at all.
Like every other one looks more like a lineup picture.
Right.
They're
And
just standing straight up and
I don't
shredded
know
for some reason.
why
It's just
they
like
decided
straight,
to
just
do
like
that. Yeah.
crouch
I
down.
gotta take
So this is what jumped to my. I'm gonna send you a picture in the text. This is what jumped to mind when I saw that, and I remember obviously. I remember that shirt. I just couldn't remember who that was. This is what I thought. This is exactly where my brain went to right away.
I'm excited for this.
So am I. Right?
And it's
Andy when he had big balls.
yeah, dude. I don't know why. It's just that's what it jumped to, and I was like, why?
Because you're right. Like the whatever the loincloth thing that he has hanging down could look like, giant balls, and he's just sitting on his balls.
For the folks who aren't part of the group chat that just got the picture, it's Randy Marsh sitting on his giant irradiated balls or whatever it was in that episode of South Park.
Episode was so long ago, I don't remember it either.
Also, the other picture that showed up too was this one, which made me giggle because this is one of my favorite scenes from that episode. So incoming picture again, out of context for everybody else in this group chat except for us, which is all that matters. I want to say
group of them are just coming down the street smoking pot.
Yeah, because it wasn't. What didn't they put their balls in the microwave or something so they could get medical marijuana cards?
Okay, yeah, that's what it was. I don't remember if it was sticking them in the microwave, but right, it was a way to get medical marijuana.
It's good
it makes
times.
it look like one of those big. What was it, like the exercise balls that have the handles on them?
The handles that you can
bounce. Yeah.
Made no sense, but yeah.
No sense at all.
None.
I keep thinking that show is back, but it's not. Nothing is back. Probably because of the writer strike.
No, didn't South Park come back just recently?
They did come back, I thought. But I think also
checked a couple days ago because I hadn't downloaded the new Max app in a long time, unless it's on, because it's on two different streaming services, right? Max and Paramount.
So it was
Paramount.
Yeah, and they're splitting what it is because of the agreement that they made.
But so it have new episodes aired because Max didn't show new episodes.
I know in March they came back with, is it either February or March they came back with a handful of episodes.
Right, and I watched all of those.
Yeah, I don't think
there's 2 seasons, 25 and 26, that they're doing new.
Yeah,
this year is 25.
Right, they did. God damn it! Excuse me.
I said 26 came out this year.
Earlier this year, but nothing newer.
Yeah, six episodes.
26 were this year.
They split the season.
Yeah.
Dumb. The 26th.
Because what's the new? Do you have the episode list in front of you? What's the newest episode?
Spring Break. It's March 29th.
Yeah, that was the one where Harrison goes with his boyfriend to on spring break, but ends up with all those but Harrison supporters, and he ends up partying with them. Yeah, I watched that a while ago.
Yeah, it was.
There will be
March
a season 27.
Yeah,
but no date of when.
Yeah. I just wonder if the writer strike has hit them too.
Oh, I'm sure it has.
Have been delayed.
Well, that and they're busy reopening their restaurant.
Casa Bonita.
Mm-hmm.
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 I kind of want to go there and see how it is.
Oh, I will be going there.
You will be going there.
Whoa,
when are we going there?
Well, because it's in Denver.
It's really weird because Cody said I meant to say we.
Well, I mean, we can go. I'm just saying because one of us is moving to Denver.
Eventually moving to Denver.
And Denver is the home of Casa Bonita.
Well, you're not moving to Denver.
Well, I'm moving to the Denver area. What do you want to call it?
You're moving to the suburb Denver.
Suburb.
Yep.
Cliffside Denver somewhere.
Cliffside Denver? No,
it was Rocky. Oh fuck! You were moving to the scary city.
It's definitely a Stephen King named
Castle
town.
Rock.
There you go.
Castle Rock,
Colorado.
Yeah.
Castle Rock, Colorado.
Where
Cody's gonna go? Well, no. Let's see. It didn't take place in Castle Rock. You're gonna be Shawshanked.
Yeah.
Is that where Shawshank is?
Shawshank is actually outside of Castle Rock.
Close enough.
But yeah.
What else took place in Castle Rock? Needful Things. No, Needful was not Needful Things. You're gonna get vampired.
There you go. Salem's Lot.
That also means you get to stand in the little shit river that Andy Dufresne crawled out of. You know that you can go do that too.
That's actually next to it, but yeah.
Well, that's what it means.
Yeah.
Like, you can still go.
Yeah.
Like you're close enough to be able to go do it.
Yeah, little Poop River.
Poop River Cody. And be like, I've been Shawshanked.
We'll call you Poop River Cody.
Poop River Cody.
The Castle Rock he refers to is definitely in Maine,
Yes.
not Colorado.
Not in Colorado.
But you know,
Because it's like, Stephen King lives in Maine or something like that.
yeah, grew up there.
This looks way too white for me.
That's fair.
I'm looking at the pictures on Google Maps of Castle Rock, Colorado. Like, man, this looks like super suburbia. White.
It does.
Doesn't look cold though.
I mean, it looks cooler than here.
That'd be
Oh,
incorrect.
every place is cooler than here though. That's not even a fair assessment.
That's actually probably true.
Legitimately living in Satan's asshole right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a single snow photo.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Well, that's
And
bizarre.
all of the pictures on Google Maps.
Well, Google Maps is probably giving you more recent.
Perhaps. I don't know. Hold on. That was a year ago. No. No. Not most recent. Maybe that's snow? Yeah. Perhaps.
Yep, that's snow, sir.
Yeah, it looks like snow.
So
Doesn't even look like a lot of snow.
Castle Rock is about 25 minutes south of Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so basically there's a quick history lesson, or geography lesson, really. There's a thing called the Front Range, which is the east side of the Rocky Mountains.
Okay.
So Denver sits atop a lot of people call the top of the Front Range, which is really not even the north part because it's the most centralized, obviously. So it starts up with Fort Collins, which is about 40. Well, no, it's actually about an hour-ish or so north of Denver. You continue down that, you hit Denver. You continue down that, which is I-25, which is the main thoroughfare highway that cuts through these. You hit Castle Rock, which is about 25-ish minutes south of Denver. 30 minutes from there, you get to Colorado Springs. Another 30 to 40 minutes south of that, you then hit, is it Pueblo? No, Pueblo's last. Anyways.
There's Colorado Springs. You're not talking about Fountain or Wigwam, so...
No, that's like little, that's, yeah, in-betweens.
So Pueblo's next.
Yeah, Pueblo is basically like right before you hit New Mexico. And the Colorado River actually runs through Pueblo, and it's a pretty cool thing because you can use, or no, hold on.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it does.
Colorado City, Walsenburg, Trinidad is close to the border. Cokedale, whatever that is.
Yeah, we're not talking about those. We're talking about major cities.
So Pueblo is the last major city, then I guess.
Yeah.
On the I-25.
Yeah. Because that's part of the Front Range.
Gross.
Yeah, so you have... Oh, it's hard to see on there all together. Oh, stop it.
It's a lot of mountains.
Oh, yeah. Dude, bro, the fucking drive from... So when we drove up there in December, we drove from Arizona into New Mexico. Paige had never been that way. And then up the I-25 front. So basically leaving Albuquerque and just basically heading straight north on the I-25. There's a lot of between Pueblo and New Mexico, but there's nothing like substantial between Pueblo and New Mexico, except for a shit ton of mountains, which, by the way, at a certain time is terrible because the sun is just directly right through it, so your rear view mirrors are just useless.
Pointless to use.
Yeah, because it just blinds you the fuck out of you, which is super dope, but also probably worse if you're headed south of that. So yeah, so you hit Pueblo. If you look at Pueblo, you zoom into Pueblo if you're on it. There's a river that runs through the main portion of it, and it's the part of it is it's called the Arkansas River. And what's crazy about it is in Pueblo you can actually use that as a mode of transportation. So you can get a little raft or inner tube and you can actually ride down it, or you can swim it one way, and then they actually have bus travel that goes the other way.
Cody's about to live the Oregon Trail.
Well, not in Pueblo. Pueblo is definitely not where I'm going to
I
live.
don't know. I just remember fording a river with a raft in the Oregon Trail, and that's exactly what you said you're going to do. So
True.
That's pretty much what I'm hearing.
Yeah, then
Watch
Colorado
out for
Springs.
Dysteria? I can't remember what.
Dysentery.
Dysentery?
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Watch out for dysentery.
Oh, I'm definitely watching out for dysentery.
You know what's really ridiculous is that traveling I-25 out of Albuquerque will drive you through Las Vegas,
Yes.
New Mexico.
Yes.
Why would they do that? That's
So,
just ridiculous.
that actually existed before Las Vegas, Nevada. Yeah, I know. It's very bizarre. And it's funny, if you go there, not that I've been there, well, I mean, I have been there technically,
You've been through there.
but they actually have a sign that looks like the Las Vegas sign, but it has the background of New Mexico.
New Mexico instead of Nevada.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's really funny. I did forget one of the you hit Boulder as part of the Front Range coming down from Fort Collins. I did forget Boulder.
There's Boulder.
Boulder is north. So if you look at
okay.
Denver, it's northwest of it.
Northwest.
Yeah. So if because out of Denver, you take one of two routes. If you want to take the most traveled route, you end up taking I want to call it the 25. Let me zoom in. Yeah, the 25. That goes north. If you continue up through that goes through Thornton, which is where the first Duluth trading company I've ever been to, and the only one I've ever seen with my own eyes is there.
More than I've been to.
Yep. And if you continue traveling up the 25, it eventually leads you into Montana, or Wyoming. I mean, Wyoming. But on that same route, as you go up through that, you can you get to Fort Collins, which is the last big city on the 25 before you hit Wyoming. But Boulder is off the side of to the west of everything, and it is the closest of the major cities to the Front Range because it's on the foot of the foothills area.
That's why it's called Boulder.
Yeah. But also Boulder is a college town and has no major corporations in it. So there's no McDonald's and all those things. They're very big about independently owned businesses.
Interesting.
Yeah, they have over 300 bookstores in Boulder. It's a college town, so it does help that. But they have dedicated bike roads that are basically circumvent the city, so you can ride a bike through all of Boulder if you wanted to, which is very large and very dense. But it's there. But yeah, so it's kind of your
Biking on.
Yeah, there's a lot of that there. It's a very
Definitely.
bike-heavy town.
Definitely not living there.
Yeah, I wouldn't live there because it's super expensive because it's a college town.
It doesn't make sense for it to be super expensive if it's college town, considering that college is only in session for a portion of the year. That's just dumb.
But if you look at it, it's very dense with
I
houses.
believe you. I'm looking at these houses right now. They look ridiculous.
Yeah, because you look at like the Flatirons, which is like the one of the bigger developed areas in there because it's I think it was one of the biggest ones right next to where the college area is. But yeah, Boulder is just super dense with houses, but it's not a very big city. But it's very, very, very popular and expensive. Mainly, they say a lot of it because there's not a lot of corporations in it to like help with the tax rate and stuff like that. So that doesn't really help much. But they like it that way.
Makes very little sense.
Yeah,
but I understand.
I know.
I guess. It makes very little logical sense, but I
Yeah.
get it. No, we don't have any big corporations here to help us pay taxes. Well, you also don't have these big corporations to drive up the cost of living.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing.
It's pretty. It's pretty.
And there's more beer produced in all of Colorado than the rest of the country combined. There's over 500
I'm listening now.
Is it 500? Something like it's like 400 and something microbreweries alone. Plus you have obviously Coors is from Colorado. Rocky Mountain and stuff like that. So
I've never heard of it.
yeah, it's a small beer company. You'll get to it eventually, I'm sure. But they have, if you go to like their like Bevmos and you go to Total Wine and stuff in the Denver area, there's in just like most, if you've ever been to a Bevmo or a Total Wine, they focus a lot on local beers. I've never been in one, but I was reading a thing about it. I guess the like Total Wines there, half of the building is actually beer, where normally it's a third of the building is beer, and then it's like
At
spirits, and then lots of wine. And same with Bevmo, is like there's so much beer availability in Colorado that like their majority of that is beer, which is insane. Because if you've ever been to one of those places, beer is kind of like this very small area compared to everything else. But it's pretty interesting. But yeah, a lot of the like bars, they carry a lot of the local beers, and it's a big thing because like there's bars fucking everywhere apparently.
So, interesting little thing about Google Maps,
Yes.
or at least my Google Maps. When I searched Castle Rock,
Yeah.
and then I scrolled out, it decided that it wanted to give me one point of interest. ANC Dine-In Southland 16. Why the fuck do I? Why?
So Google Maps is weird. So I have to use Google Maps for work. And to me, it's very strange because it highlights very random things. You would think you're using Google Maps, right? You think there's going to be like one major thing they're going to give you, like a point of interest, right? Which is like gas stations,
or something that's relevant.
public transportation, things like that, right?
Like sightseeing points of interest.
Yeah, apparently the dine-in theater is one of them. But yeah, so when we map our route in the mornings, and you look at it and you're like Food City, okay, that makes sense, right? U-Haul, okay, and then it's
sense.
like I can't remember the name of the cemetery, but then it's like that cemetery that's right there, and I was like,
you had me up until the cemetery. I would imagine that some of it is ad revenue stuff.
yeah, right, like
That there is stuff that they're like, hey, this is a quote unquote featured place. Just means that they paid for advertising basically on Google Maps, but I don't really know about cemetery.
Yeah, I was like, why is this a thing on here? It was very bizarre to me, but
Cody, do you have to MapQuest out your routes on paper like back in the day, in order to drive them?
so no, our system we use has that built into it. Well, we have phones that tie to it, so when you click on an address, it gives you the option to open Maps, so you can use that to navigate through. And it's tied through Google Maps, which is sometimes a blessing and a curse, mostly a curse, because Google Maps is
I don't know.
borderline drunk most of the time. Like, I've had some issues with Apple Maps. I'm not ever going to say Apple Maps is like the best one ever, right? But there are some things that Google Maps does for navigation that makes no sense.
I also agree with that. And I can say that sometimes Google Maps will take you the long way around as a default.
Because it says it's more fuel efficient.
But it's not.
Bro, dude, there's this one, we were in Prescott last week, and like we're on this fucking highway thing, right? And it's like, hey, if you need to make a left at this light, but if you continue forward on this, it's 9 minutes faster. And which was weird because if you look where we were, it goes up the side of a hill. It's not steep, but it's pretty high. I mean, obviously, you're gonna use more gas going up that, right? Versus this other route. So I zoomed out and looked at it, and the other one is just like,
Does it make that face?
but
too?
it's flat. I think so. But it's flatter, so you don't use as much gas. And I was like, but it's 9 minutes slower.
I don't understand.
Yeah, dude, it's very bizarre.
I don't understand.
And I've noticed both Apple and Google have a really hard time knowing exactly which direction you're facing, obviously, because like you hook your phone up, right? It's just gonna know north, south, but it doesn't know which way your car's. Yeah, it's not going by like your car, like where your car's pointing or whatever, right? And then Google, especially because you have a choice to like change your vehicle, and like Matt, my cadet, will put on the shape of a van, you know, because like we're in a van, and you just as we pull away from someone's house, you'll see the van just spinning like this weird like Last Starfighter fucking maneuver as we're driving down the road trying to figure out which way we're going. And I'm like, that's hilarious. It just looks like we're just in a tornado just going down the street.
Maybe you are in a tornado.
Maybe I am in a tornado
in the middle of Phoenix.
Yeah, which is terrifying. Denver got a tornado warning earlier this year.
That sounds awful.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
I don't
That
think
sounds
anything ever happened because of it, but
terrifying.
Still, one day, well, a warning means that a tornado may be imminent.
Potentially
Potentially imminent. Yeah, there is different levels of like tornado. Because I'm trying to think of what the next
There's
one
a
is.
watch, a warning.
Yeah, watch, warning, and something else.
Alert.
we're not looking at.
But I don't know. One day of having a tornado watch warning might be better than having multiple days of excessive heat.
Yeah, this week and
Tornado
next week.
watch. Be prepared. Tornado warning. Take action.
So tornado warning means that it actually touched down.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it must have been a tornado watch then,
Watch,
because
yeah.
no one.
has been
The
cited.
conditions are correct for a tornado.
Yeah.
Tornado watch, right?
Yes.
Means that a tornado has actually been spotted.
I don't think
Fuck
it.
that.
I don't think it
Pass.
ever touched down or whatever, but I know they got the because Paige's best friend Holly was there, and she's like, "We got a tornado warning the other day," and I was like, "Where were you?" She's like, "Denver." I was like, "Oh, oh." I was like, "I don't know." Like Joe said, I mean, I'll take a warning over excessive heat. That's for sure.
Right, because at least it's going to be high winds and cool.
Yeah. Good kite
You're
flying
just
weather.
sitting there fucking twistering it as you buckle yourself into a
That's the problem,
pipe
man.
that's coming out of the ground, and you're just like, at least this isn't excessive heat. Because you just got the wind whipping past you.
It's bad no matter what. I think that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
I'd much rather not. But then again, I also like living in Orlando that has fucking hurricanes. So
Yep,
So
that
something's
also
wrong with you.
had a heat problem too, but that's like hot and sweaty ass.
Ugh,
hot and sweaty ass.
bro, that's
Because
terrible.
it's humid up there. It's humid heat. Humid heat is like, I think I've never actually lived in a place with humid heat, so maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. But I would say humid heat is worse than Arizona heat, which is everybody's favorite. Well, at least it's a dry heat type thing.
I will tell you that I did not personally have an issue with humid heat. After you get used to it, it did take some getting used to. But once I was accustomed to it, I actually prefer it over dry heat.
Okay,
I just don't like the fact that nothing ever dries.
right.
Yeah,
Like your towels just stay damp.
I suppose. But you know,
He's like, whatever. It is what it is.
like honestly, it's
If you never dry off and the towel never dries off, then who cares?
it's all
It's
even
all the
Steven.
same. Yeah.
But here's the thing. In humid heat, you can still go outside. It's a little stifling sometimes. It's a little, you sweat, but you can still go outside and do things. Whereas in the dirt heat, that direct sunbeam shit, you can go outside for 5 minutes without, your skin actually tearing apart. and then
like
you have to go
sitting
back.
in an oven. Yeah.
Like, legitimately, I prefer to be able to still go outside and do things. Yeah, it's going to be a little warm, but I can still go outside and be active versus there's not a fucking chance that in our worst heat, you can go outside.
Yeah.
That's
can't.
true.
What is it right now?
It's got to be at least 100.
93.
93.
What I said.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad an hour ago when I went and got groceries.
Yesterday, I think it was, I was driving to the chiropractor, or driving from the chiropractor, and it was 99 degrees at 9:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I say
the dog
that
for a
with
walk
all the
last
disrespect.
night when I got home at around 8:45 or something like that. And yeah, it's like sun's down, but it's still so fucking hot out. I don't know exactly what temperature it was, but it had to have been somewhere in the 90 degrees.
What's the temperature of misery? That's what it was.
So yesterday, to give you an idea of how hot it was,
Pretty sure it took place during the snow, so it was actually pretty cold. Stephen King jokes all day today.
All day today.
all day.
All day,
I'm here
every
for
day.
it.
So Paige and I went to, or we're still going, I guess, to the Mad Monster Party, which is like a horror convention.
Okay.
So it's Paige's
nice.
first genre convention. It's like she went to Comic-Con, which is obviously like a
Multi-genre
melding
type
of
thing.
This is her very first time going to one of these.
Genre specific.
Yeah. I tried to warn her. I gave her warnings for Comic-Con. I tried to give her warnings for this. It pales in comparison when you see these fucking people. But anyways, so
That thing prepares you for some.
yeah,
Man,
so
some people just like living their lives a little differently.
yeah,
That's
very
one way
differently.
of putting it, Joe. It's very kind.
So last night, which is day one, so Friday was from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m.
So you've already gone.
Yeah, we went to day one. Yeah, we're going again
okay.
today because yesterday. So it's weird that it's so small, but like, it's small. It's like very small.
Because I will admit, I've never been to something like this before either. I've seen stuff like this. Multiple years they've had the horror convention. They even have Anime Con here. I imagine Anime Con is a little bit more
gross.
bigger than this. So
That's what I meant to say.
my first question before you continue on with the story is like, how big is the venue compared to like even a Phoenix Comic Con or Phoenix Fan Fest, whatever the fuck they want to call it these days?
So it is nothing compared to that. It is drastically smaller than that. Joe never remember. Well, Taj doesn't even remember Comic-Con back in the day when it was not at the convention center. But this takes place in the Renaissance Hotel, Renaissance Phoenix Hotel, which is weird. It's called the Renaissance Phoenix Hotel, but it's in Glendale. Anyways, it's the hotel that's right next to the Coyote Stadium, or what used to be the Coyote Stadium.
Yeah.
Which I don't know the name of anymore.
I don't know. Actually, Gila River.
We'll call it the Billy Bob for shits and giggles.
It's
then.
jobbing.com. It will always be jobbing.com.
It's jobbing.com arena. It's right there.
Yeah.
Whatever.
This is like one of those, like, I don't want to call it Mandela effect, but whatever. But like, I just don't remember this hotel existing because we never go that far in when we're not going into Westgate, right? Like, you go to Westgate, you park over by.
This isn't the hotel that's basically in front of, and when I say in front of, in between the freeway and Westgate.
It is, and I know it's there.
The one just to the right there.
Yeah, so like it's the one that's
that hasn't been there.
That's the thing is, like, when I think about it, like, I just think it's part of like that. But like when I was like we were looking at it, I was like, why does this say Coyote Way? And I was like, oh, that's right. There's a hotel there, because we never like. We don't go there for that, so we're always kind of like, we're never really at the hotel, like, over there. Because, like, when we go to Westgate, we're either parking on the north side, or, like, over by AMC, whatever, and going in, right? You never go over there, really. Like, I know it's there, but it's, like, one of those things where I never thought about it. And then I was like, oh, yeah. There's a hotel right there. It's a very nice hotel, by the way.
I would hope.
A very big ballroom.
As would I.
So I'll tell you this, Joe. So the panel we went to yesterday in their panel room, which is most like hotels. It's like, a room you can open up and probably make bigger, whatever, right?
It's got panels you can open up.
Yeah. We went to the Terrifier 2 panel yesterday, and there was I'm trying to think of how like a room size we could talk about. Like you'd be familiar with.
Big.
Well,
No.
I would say, like, is it as big as because we went and saw the panel with not Jim Butcher, Jim Butcher's son.
Yeah.
That was a relatively small. I would say that was a relatively small panel room.
So it was probably 4 of those.
Okay, so this is a relatively larger panel room.
It like
not
so
as big as something you would see in San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah, so it's not as big as like about Ballroom 20 at San Diego Comic-Con, right? That one's
Nothing's
massive.
as big as Ballroom 20.
No, the Hall H is the big one.
Hall H is the big
Oh, that's right. Hall H.
20 is the one that's upstairs, usually reserved for like
It's
television.
where all the secondary stuff is.
Yeah, like we saw that It's Always Sunny there.
Yes.
Like that one, right?
Yep.
That a good friend of ours got us access to, skipping the line so we could sit up front.
That was a good friend,
within meters of Fred Savage, which is wild to me.
Which was awesome, right?
Fred fucking Savage.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking
That's
awesome.
wild.
So there's like that, right? So I'm like, oh, here, Joe. Remember when we saw John Scalzi and Will Wheaton?
Yes.
Okay, that room's slightly bigger than that one.
No, yeah, I've got the room size now.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the rest of the story.
So,
I understand the room size now.
yeah. So,
I'm with you.
I'm with you.
As classic style we went to the panel right before just to make sure, because I didn't know how popular it was going to be, because the room is not very big. I was like, oh shit.
But you would assume that Terrifier has been this weird cult sleeper hit thing for a while, which is why they're making Terrifier 4
3.
Sorry, Terrifier.
Oh, Joe froze again. Uh-oh. Both of them froze. Oh no. Where are my friends at?
Internet.
Cody's the problem for the
This is what happened. Was it last week or the week before?
No,
Is
this is
what it was?
this is a little different. My computer didn't freeze this time. You guys
are we
just
back?
yeah, you're back. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it was just like, hey, I don't know. My internet's been like weird this morning. Like,
Because Cox knows that you're signing up for Wired.
probably, and also the
there's
heat.
just, like,
Whenever it gets like super hot like this and starts, and there's obviously it's Saturday, so more people are probably home or whatever. And Cox sucks balls.
Big balls.
Yeah. Anyhow, so we went. So I didn't know how popular it's because like this is their second year. I guess being part of the Mad Monster one. Not so much. I don't think in Arizona. I don't know if they were or not, but I know they've been in other ones because they do other Mad Monster ones through the same company in different cities. Like there's like Austin one or whatever. Anyways, so I was like, all right, let's scope this room out, and I saw it, and I was like, holy shit, that room is real small. And I didn't know how big the turnout was going to be because the fact that like Terrifier is getting obviously more popular or whatever, right? But Art the Clown, which is the protagonist from the Terrifier movies, he's featured on the Mad Monster Party staff shirts.
Okay.
And like every booth has something Art the Clown to sell you.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, this is going to be a nightmare. It actually
Right.
turned out not to be. But we went to the panel right beforehand, which was the Nightmare on Elm Street 2 Freddy's Revenge panel, as they like to put it. It featured Kim Myers and Mark Patton. I know Joe doesn't watch these movies, and I don't know Taj watches all of those movies. By far the least popular of all the Freddy movies. Or Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I shouldn't say Freddy movies because Freddy versus Jason's not good. But it's weird because like that panel, I mean, it had a lot of people in it, but it was going so well until the very last question. And Joe knows what I'm talking about. When these fan people get in these panels, you get some wild fucking questions, right?
Yeah, you do.
Just wild fucking people.
Yeah, so for the most part, the entire 40-ish minutes of this panel, it's all going swimmingly. The dude's asking a bunch of questions, the moderator guy, right? Mark is just talking away, whatever, having a good time. They're telling some stories. They go through the crowd. Crowd asks some basic questions. If you could be in any other Nightmare on Elm Street movie, which one would you be in, blah, 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 right? Dumb questions. But not the level of dumb this last dude gets to, who doesn't know how microphones work, first off.
Problem number one.
And he probably has some kind of form of anxiety and social dysfunction or whatever, right? Because he's sitting front row at a Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 panel, and he proceeds to ask these two veteran actors what type of vampire they would be if they could choose between all these different, and he starts listing off all the different types of vampires. But as he's doing this, you can literally watch the microphone walk away from his probably stank-ass breath until he's completely unhearable by anybody, including the people who are like 5 feet in front of him.
I mean, it's him slowly realizing, hopefully, that that's a weird question.
Oh,
ask.
no.
I don't think that
He was...
I was giving the benefit of a doubt. I'm just
Nah.
trying to give the benefit of doubt, because I'm still trying to wrap my head around why
that would be the question.
Yeah, why do you go to a panel about not just like Nightmare on Elm Street in general, but Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and you ask the cast that has so graciously decided to show up here what vampire you would want to be, because there are no vampires in any of those movies, not even in a nightmare sequence that I know of. Like Cody says, I'm not really big into those movies. I've watched some of them, but I'm not big into them. So, like, you guys can tell me if there really were vampire nightmares somewhere in there. But then, like, I can only imagine, and you can finish the story, but I can only imagine like what their responses, their reactions and responses are going to be.
So Kim's was fucking classic, and she goes, "Well, Mark, you want to go first?"
Look at that bus.
And then
Look at that bus.
And Mark was probably the most placating of anybody I've seen on a panel, where they just kind of like, he didn't like go, "Oh well, I guess." He was like, "Well, I'd be a full blood," and then he starts going to this whole thing about like interview the vampire, because he's a gay man, and he's like that's kind of like, you know, he's like obviously embracing the way
full on Lestrade.
Yeah, like, you know, he's talking about like how like he's like, yo, you know, like it'd be an amazing thing to like find this person and be together forever, blah blah blah, right? And then he goes, "You," and then she's like, "I just honestly don't know the differences in the vampires." And this kid who's still holding the microphone just starts talking.
Go into a full tirade of what they are.
And he starts like saying, like, because he listed all these ones, we couldn't hear them all because the microphone just tried to get away from him.
Him and the microphone didn't have a good relationship.
Yeah, and he just kept like going, and then he's like, "Well, have you ever seen like Blade?" And I was like, and then someone else up front said something about Twilight, and then like I was like, this has devolved into just garbage.
Absolute fucking
yeah.
Ugh.
So it was very interesting. I'm sure. Paige was just like, "What the fuck, dude?" And everyone just like, you could hear pockets of laughter like bubbling up, right? But
uncomfortable
you could just feel the levity of the room just die as soon as he started asking that question, because everyone's like, "But why? Like, why are you asking this question?"
That's always the lead. But
yeah.
Why? Yeah.
So I was like, okay, whatever. So then we stayed for the Terrifier 2 panel, which was really fun because the creator of Terrifier, Damon Leone, was there along with the actor who performs as Art.
Terrifier.
Well, he plays Art, the
Terrifier.
Clown. Yeah, Terrifier is not a character, Joe.
It is. Terrifier.
So
It's the name of the movie, therefore it's the name of the main character.
Okay, like Die Hard, right?
It's Die Hard, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not John McClane, it's Die Hard. His name's Die Hard.
John McClane.
Nope, Die Hard.
Terrifier 2, Terrifier Harder.
Oh. For that.
So so the people, like, there's a lot of people. I'm not going to go through the whole list of people. Well, there's not a whole lot of guests at these, but Robert Englund was there, which is pretty cool.
Sounds familiar.
Lance Hendrickson was there, Joe.
Ooh.
He is old as fuck.
Yeah.
I saw him at this table and I was like, bro.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Not good.
Not good. But anyway, so David Howard Thornton is the gentleman who performs as Art the Clown in the Terrifier movies. He's a nut job. Like, and I didn't realize that. I mean, he obviously plays a killer clown.
But it kind of has to be.
The thing is, like, he's a giant nerd. He does theater stuff, and he's like a big voiceover guy. Like, he's done a lot of voiceover stuff. But like, I cannot imagine what he must be like. I'm gonna find out today because we have a photo op with him in full Art the Clown costume.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
That sounds awful.
Someone's splurging.
Yeah. So so it's
Cody's rich, right?
yeah,
Cody is
exactly.
rich,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay, sure.
Actually, I think Paige is the rich one now.
Yeah.
Sugar Mama.
Yeah, got it right. So the photo op is with Damon and David, but David's gonna be in full Art costume for the photos, which is, I hope they just have him like in a fucking deep cold room, because I can't imagine it's gonna be a fun time for him to be in that fucking costume in Arizona heat. It's the dry heat. Yeah, so it's an oven. But he's so talkative, and like at one point he did a Miss Doubtfire impression.
Okay.
Like, it was just like, he's just this bubble of like ridiculous. He's so excited to be like there doing things, right? Like, and like people
Alive.
like, you know, like, and people are recognizing him as him, not like, oh, because if you look at him and you look at Art the Clown, you're like, well, those are two separate people, because there's like prosthetics
And prosthetics, yeah.
yeah, like they have like prosthetics to like give him sunken eyes and fucking bony cheeks and a weird nose or whatever, which was a really cool story they told about how that came about. But he's just so like bubbly, and like at one point he did like the Jeopardy theme when they were like walking a microphone around to someone to ask a question, and he's did it far enough away from the microphone not to like be completely loud, but like enough to make you could hear it. But then he would like lean away from the microphone and like say little things, like little snide remarks or whatever, and like make comments. And the one that got everybody was, they're like, oh, we have time for one final question, which is always like, you know, like it's got to be nerve-wracking for someone to like be the last question, right? Especially
Right.
some fucking shut-ins.
What a werewolf would you be?
Dude, bro, we were both preparing for that question. And it wasn't that, thankfully. But
Okay.
he's just sitting back in the chair and goes, better be a good one. I was like, just what a dick. But it was pretty funny to go through that. But the reason I brought this up, we leave the hotel yesterday, and it is 10:15 at this point. Or 9:45 at this point. Well, not
So
about
it's
10 o'clock.
110 degrees.
Bro, we walk outside, and the heat just punches you right in the fucking face, right? I look at my
Seriously.
watch, and it's like, oh, hey, by the way, it's 98 degrees at fucking 10 p.m.
Yeah.
I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now, dude? And we have to walk to our car, and I'm sweating.
Mm-hmm.
And not because I'm a fat piece of shit, fully, but
Partly
like,
because
in our car, we didn't park like the South 40. We parked in the parking lot that's adjacent, like right across from the hotel, right?
Yeah.
It was no more than like a 5-minute walk,
Mm-hmm.
right? From the room, the panel room we're in, through the hotel out to our car. Maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But the 3 minutes we spent outside, we get to the car and I'm just sweating.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm like, bro, it's not uphill.
Nope.
It's 10 p.m. at night. It's ridiculous. Like, why?
It's getting to the point, and not to sit here and talk about how hot it is in Arizona anymore, but it's getting to the point where like I will hop in my car at 12 o'clock to get to work by 12:15, and because I work at 12:30, and my AC doesn't actually start cooling down until like I'm turning on to the road to get to my work. It's like, yo, it is too hot right now.
I'd let my car warm up for 5 minutes at least before I get into it.
Well, you have a newer, nicer car than I do. My car, you basically have to go in order for it to get
Oh,
good
you
air.
have to get on the gas in order for it.
You have to get on the gas in order to go. It's not that I have bad AC necessarily. It's just that it has to have that airflow.
It needs encouragement.
Yeah, through the radiator and everything to actually get to get cold air. It will eventually cool down, but it's just like by the time it starts to cool down, yeah, I'm already at work, so it's kind of pointless. But
Yeah. Why did I waste my time?
yeah,
Wasting gas on, AC that's not working.
yeah,
Not gonna lie, that shit sucks.
it
Yeah.
does.
I feel for you.
It might actually help if I put up sunshades too. I have been really lazy.
But it's time for that.
It
Who
might
has
do
time?
that. I know, right?
I mean, I use mine and it's still fucking hot in my car.
Yeah, Cody's rich. He got into her car.
It was so hot in my car one day when I was going to work that so I have wireless CarPlay in my car,
Nice.
and every once in a while it just doesn't connect. You turn your car on, my radio comes on, and as soon as I get within a certain distance, my phone should just pick up and pop over to CarPlay.
Agreed.
And every once in a while it doesn't, so I have to just simply turn my head unit off, turn it back on. It usually fixes it. It was so hot in my car that when I hit the power button for my head unit, it nearly burned me. I was not expecting that because it's not an actual metal button. It's just like a plastic button that's painted metal. But it was so hot in that car that it felt like I was about to get like some degree of a burn. I don't really know what the degrees are.
60th.
A
Because it's
60.
Phoenix.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
I was going to use another Misery reference, but I feel like it wouldn't land the same.
It probably wouldn't.
I mean, you could still do it though.
What?
What?
I don't know.
That's like all I had.
That's it and that's all?
Well,
That's all.
we're at 52 minutes essentially. I did want to talk about electric cars, but that might bring a longer conversation we don't have
Yeah.
time for.
How electric are we talking here?
We're talking full electric cars. Well,
Full blown
110% electric.
yeah, 100 so real quick, I've been
RC?
no like EV cars, not like fucking RC cars or fucking you did the dual drag back thing. It's not even an RC car.
That's true.
Right.
So I've been looking. I mean, I'm not looking at buying one, but like I'm really interested in like all the cool things that are coming out with them and stuff like that. And like I was listening to Marquez Brown podcast, and he just did one with the CEO of Rivian,
Yeah.
RJ something or other.
Really good electric car.
And I guess they're getting ready to sometime in the next year reveal the next iteration, which is the R2 platform,
It's good.
which is a lower
Hopefully lower
price
cost.
point.
Mm-hmm.
Without like the way he put it is, they're still going to continue their adventure theme with it. So like it's a car you can use for every day as well as going out camping and things like that. Because Marquez has a review video up on his car channel about the R1S, which is the SUV, versus the R1T, which he did already. Which is a pretty dope car, but $90,000 is a lot of money for any vehicle, but let alone like a full EV that you have to obviously like live that life for. There's a lot of
you gotta change your entire world in order to own.
Yeah, like there's a lot of cool features in those vehicles, especially like for me, less of the truck and more the SUV. But hearing him talk about like the affordability and like Marquez even says like we all know like the ones that are out there that everyone's talking about are like obviously Tesla, which they do have a lower or at least expensive version if you go to like the base model 3. Because they do have a lower Model 3 now that has less features in it. But it's, and whatever, right? So he's talking about this, and he's talking about how, like, it's interesting because I've never really heard anyone talk about a lot of the features that are, like, or of what, like, because I've been doing a lot of, like, research and looking at different ones, and, like, the cheapest one now you can get is, like, the Chevy Volt, which is dope, but like I wouldn't get because they're getting rid of CarPlay at the end of this year.
Yep.
And from what I read online is they actually have an option to update the software to take it out of existing cars. because it's part of the agreement they have where they can change the software and update
I don't
it.
understand why this is a thing where well, okay, on the one hand, I do, not to get off on a more of a tangent than we're
Huge tangent
right now, but like I hate the fact that GM, because it was GMC, the actual company that announced like, hey, we're going to start eliminating CarPlay from our stuff, and I understand that they probably want to do it so they can more control the interface and whatnot, but like historically, car manufacturers suck at user control interfaces, at doing their own GPS and everything like that. It fucking sucks. So here you have companies, because even Google obviously has their Android Auto and whatnot, that are looking to that expanded into those areas where, you know, not only can you have a seamless experience between cars, I can hop into a rental car and still use my CarPlay, and it's all the same there, and it looks nice and it works well. But you know, I can hop back into my own car, and it just is the same thing. It's a seamless experience through multiple things. But to have a car manufacturer just be like, yeah, we're not going to support that anymore.
Not interested.
You know, like, yeah, immediately I'm just like, well, I'm not interested in your car anymore. Like, that's a huge selling point for me, that I can just sit down and have things just work. Granted, even in my own car, things don't just work all the time, but like,
that's a huge selling point for a lot of people, though.
But it still just works, and it's the same interface, and it's not something that runs on my car. I don't have to update my car in order to get this to work. Like, there are certain things in this world, like, I am the type of person that loves home integration and automations and stuff like that, but not with my car. Like, I shouldn't have to update my car every once in a while. I shouldn't have to have a terms of service with my car, you know, and buy digital add-ons for my car to make it full self-driving or something like that. It's fucking stupid to me. It's a car. It's a thing that I use to get from point A to point B.
It's a convenience item, and
I just
you're
want to
taking away the convenience.
Exactly. So to sit there and take away the convenience, especially when Apple is like, we can make your experience even better now, because we're gonna expand out into not just your multimedia section, but into your actual controls and whatnot, is absolutely amazing. And then car manufacturers just have to worry about the bare minimum. If somebody doesn't have it, this is the bare minimum to show you and interact with. But if you do have this device, you could make it more magical and better and whatnot. So it's just so frustrating because you know that companies want to make devices as a service, and I guarantee you that's where they're going with this, because they're going to nickel and dime you. They're going to be like, well, if you want this feature, it's going to be $5.99 a month. It's the same thing that, what was it, BMW tried to do with CarPlay.
A couple companies did it.
Yeah, like, well, it's going to be $5.99 a month to be able to use CarPlay. It's like, motherfucker, it doesn't run on the car, it runs on my phone. You're just the conduit for it. You're just the thing I plug into to display it.
When Joe gets all sciencey, it's the greatest thing in the world.
It irritates me, and it's fucking stupid.
No, I do not disagree with you, though.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, you're not wrong. When you're taking away the one thing that makes something viable, purchasable, the convenience, then what's the purpose at all of having it?
And what's making things even worse is a lot of these systems are moving away from, like, the ability to just pull them out and put in my own system.
Right.
You know, a lot of these systems are so integrated into things. Like, you can't take a Tesla and be like, well, I want a Kenwood, you know, or an Alpine system or something like that in there, and just pull that system out, put it in that system, and have it work. It just doesn't work like that. And so a lot of systems are moving away from, you know, a single DIN, double DIN, like a standard that I can just pull out, put in what I want as well, which sucks. So yeah, end rant. I hate it. Continue, please.
So and they were talking about it, like, obviously the quick fucking footnotes or whatever you want to call it, cliff notes. He was talking about how they're working on the new iteration, the R2 platform, and they're looking at what they can eliminate for cost reasons, right? Like, there's little things, because I don't know if you know this, Taj. I know Joe knows this because he's looked into the Rivian stuff. So Rivian R1T and R1S, so the truck and the SUV, they have some super neat features in them. Things like hydraulic leveling in them, so like they actually can lower and raise themselves as you change. You can do it manually, but also if you change the driving type, it adjusts for airflow on the car, like drag and stuff like that. The coefficient, as they say. So if you lower it down, obviously the wind can go over it more. It helps, with things like that. But the little things Rivian did. So on the R1T, they have the gear pass-through thing. So there's a thing that goes from one side of the car or truck to the other side that goes all the way through. It's a tunnel. It's a gear tunnel. They have a lot of features you can add on there. There's a roll-out kitchen, which apparently they've discontinued because they're redoing it. They have like a tent option, like all these different weird things you can do for it, right? Whatever. But the weird thing is, which I didn't know about this, is the R1T and the R1S have a battery cell count of 7,776, which that's a lot of battery cells. But the funny thing was, they actually have 7,777 cells in the car because there's a flashlight built into the driver's door that has a 1-cell battery in it.
Lovely.
Yeah.
And then one of the other weird features, and it's like it's like and I think Marquez even said it. It borders like on gimmicky, but like ends up trying to being useful. Is there's a built-in wireless speaker in the center console that you can take out and use as a wireless speaker, right, for when you're camping or doing whatever. But also is a phone bank, so you can plug your phone into it and recharge your phone via that speaker.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like it's just another thing you can do with it. It's very bizarre, obviously a weird thing, but there's little things like that like that's pretty cool. But like obviously cost, you could drop the cost of things.
Take that out. Most people probably don't have their own wireless speaker at this point. So just eliminate that and save, I don't know, $50 to $100 or whatever it is.
Yeah, and then the other thing is like they're talking about like in the R1S, the SUV, there's like I think the website listed as 12 speakers in the car, not including the Bluetooth one that comes out of the middle. The stereo itself has like 12 speakers, and like obviously they're going to reduce that down to whatever it is, whatever they didn't say anything what they're doing yet because he's very tight-lipped. He's he's a CEO. He's smart enough to know.
Yeah.
But it was cool to
That's
kind
an assumption.
What?
I mean, so far we have nothing to the contrary. So
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
And he's talking about how like like they're doing all these things to help because they know they started their flagship stuff like the R1T and the R1S. That's like their penultimate, like that's the highest luxury that they do within their lines, and like the R1S is like base models like $90,000, and the truck's not much farther behind that. And they, again, they know pricing for the R2 platform, but they're talking about all different things, and the fact that they actually went into the engineering that they did for the Amazon and fleet vehicles, as they put it, because apparently other companies are buying those now too. And the fact that like they re-engineered, it's not just they just took a R1 and redid it. It's its own everything, including the fact that it has not just ventilated seats, but an actual AC unit in the seat. So instead of just passing air through, it actually can pass cold or hot air. Yeah. So it's a whole HVAC system in the seat. So on
individual stuff, your passenger wants to be hotter, you want to be colder. Yeah.
Well, because in those ones,
I would like that.
Yeah, because in those,
I've driven in your car and I'm just like freezing because I'm a stick figure over here.
Yeah. Well, and people in the back have to have cold air too.
Right. Yeah.
And it's funny because like they're like we redid it that way because it's a box truck and there's nothing back there, right? Mm-hmm. So, and they have a jump seat, but that jump seat folds out of the way so you can go in and out real easily from the driver's seat. You don't have a drivetrain, so the floor is flat, right? And they have a pocket door on the side that just slides open and closed. So, what?
I said no, the floor is lava.
No, that's a different thing. So like they were talking about all these things, and I thought, that's actually a pretty good point. Instead of having to try to cool the whole van down, you could just cool the person down.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be opening that door, or sometimes having the door open all the time, and that would just evacuate the air versus being able to being cooled off right in your seat. So
yeah,
it was cool to hear all those things, and obviously like they're thinking more broadly than anything else. And Marquez tried to get him to talk shit about other companies. Like he loaded questions like, hey, these competitors, blah blah blah, and this dude was like magnificent at dodging, but still answering those questions, right? Like he wasn't specifically saying this, and he even gave like props to, like Tesla and their charging network, and he's like, hey, Tesla's charging network for their electric vehicle, or for their vehicles, because all they do is electric vehicles, is the best in the nation.
They paved the way.
Yeah,
If
I mean,
nothing
because
else, they paved the way.
they were the first full EV company, and so they had to have that out there. And he talked about their network they're building out right now, and how much millions of dollars they have to put into it, and the fact that it's every single site is manned because they can monitor the uptime on the chargers. They're putting actually more charging stations, dispensers as he put them, at their locations, and they're focusing on the major corridors, so up and down West Coast, East Coast, and then connecting the coasts through different ways. And right now they have 30 something chargers, and by he said by this time next year, I think he said, they're gonna have over 600.
Jeez.
Nice.
But it's a lot of like paperwork and politics they have to go through with like getting power and building them and things like that. But they build the chargers in the same plant they build the cars.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's the same engineering teams that have that do them. So they're not like, because he did throw some shade, but known shade at the other third party ones that don't make vehicles and are making the charge stations, and how they're like a terrible customer experience, because Rivian can be used on those ones, but apparently those ones go down all the time. The dispenser nozzles aren't working because people don't put them back on the thing. They just let them fucking sit down or whatever, so they get like broken or get debris in them.
Humans.
Yeah, because scumbags. And little things like that. Like it's just it's cool just to watch, or listen to and watch, because it was a video as well. But it was kind of cool to see the insight. I've never really heard that from anybody, because like with Chevy, the Silverado EV is coming out later this year, but it's starting with the work truck version. And they call it the work truck because it's designed to be more of a work vehicle than it is. But it has like 450 miles per charge.
Nice.
Which is pretty impressive.
And like 700 horsepower.
That's nice too.
Yeah, and it's pretty crazy. Like, they're doing like all this stuff, and like it's funny to call it a work truck, right? But then you realize it's just a regular pickup. I mean, it's a full size pickup. It's a full size Silverado.
Right.
Looks like the Avalanche, if you remember what that looks like. But
Never was a fan of that.
yeah, but it has all the trademarks of like an electric vehicle. You can increase the interior of the interior of the vehicle, because you don't have a drivetrain, you don't have all these things, and they, unlike there was the video I watched with her, the head engineer, one of the head engineers of it, she threw some real hard like jabs at Ford and GMC. You realize she's GM, and she's throwing shade at GMC because they are technically two different companies under General Motors, right? So like Chevy is its own brand under General Motors, which also has GMC, right? And she threw some like hard facts, like how the Hummer EV is just like not a great experience.
It's massive still.
Yeah, and it weighs so much.
So much.
But she was talking about how the interior, like the build of this one, is not like a lot of the other ones, which is a slight jab on a lot of the car manufacturers, including some of what Chevy's done, and she knows that. But they rebuilt, they fully built out the Silverado EV from the ground up. So it doesn't use the Silverado architecture. It uses an all-new architecture that has batteries and like all sorts. Like it has this, it's not a unibody, it's another name for it, but like the shell of the car is not just the bottom. it's part of the actual car, like the framework of the car, which is different than a lot of other cars, which have a frame that sit on top of a chassis. And a lot of electric vehicles do that, where they have a skateboard technology, what they use, where they basically put batteries between the two sets of wheels, and then they build the car on top of it. They went differently so they could change the way the vehicle steers and handles and stuff. It's crazy how much like they're going into it and doing
Technology
things.
is nuts. That's for damn sure.
Yeah,
Right.
it's fucking wild. But yeah, there's so much. And the fact, this is the last thing I wanted to bring up, and this is the funny thing I found out. So BMW is bringing out the i7, and they have a bunch of different powertrains you can get for it. You can get what they refer to as an ICE, which I didn't know was a term for it, but that's internal combustion engine. You can get a hybrid, and you can get a full electric. And when you buy those, you can order them, as well as obviously the dealers will have them. You get to choose the trim level of each of those that you choose. But in the i7, there's a luxury feature you can get, which is a 8K OLED TV that goes in the back, that folds up into the ceiling and then folds on. That's ridiculous, right? For a car that base model's $109,000. Obviously that feature is not included in that one. You have to go a little higher up to get that. But anyways, I was like, oh, that's cool if like you're being driven around, or if you have kids and you want to waste money on them. Sorry, Tosh. But then it got to the point where they talked about the experience, and this is where I was like, yo, BMW needs to be stopped. So you spend the cheapest model I could find that listed with is $124,000. That comes with that TV, right? Mm-hmm. Joe, guess what operating system they use on that TV?
Well, it's probably made by LG, I'd have to guess, because only LG and Samsung are the only two that make OLED TVs. So I'm taking a 50-50 shot here. That's probably LG, therefore it's WebOS.
It's not. I don't know who manufactures the screen because they didn't say, but it's Fire TV.
Oh, so it's Amazon.
Amazon.
Yeah. And the Marquez Brown did the review, or the walkthrough that I saw, and he's talking about how the responsiveness of the car OS in the front is, and how it is on. They have fully, like, they're like 7 or 6 inch tablets in the armrests of the passenger doors in the back that give you like climate control of your own and all these different things, right? But you can hit like modes that like bring up shades in the windows and all the fun stuff, and you bring the TV down with it, right? And you can use it, and it's that screen is touchscreen, except for the Fire TV stuff.
It makes sense because it's not meant to be touch.
Exactly.
You would think that if you're going to build something like that, you would make it, but that would also have to be a partnership with Amazon in order to really integrate that.
And the crazy part about that is he's showing the responsiveness of like that and the touchscreen, but then when you go to utilize the fire stuff,
garbage.
It's just slow as balls.
Because they probably integrated I mean, I think the higher end stuff actually does probably pretty good with how it interacts and moves and whatnot, but all of the cheap stuff from Amazon Fire line is just like click and wait.
Yeah,
click and wait.
Yeah, it was.
Click and wait.
It was very embarrassing to watch. Not that I have any stake in it, but it was like, bro.
Maybe embarrassing is not the right word,
shouldn't
but I get what
be
you're saying.
integrating.
Like all of
going
that
back
for
to
garbage.
Yeah, it's going back to that. It's probably just the cheapest option out there.
And I was like, all this money and all this technology, and you throw essentially a Fire Stick in there.
Yeah.
I was like, bro.
And that again reeks of like the car manufacturer not knowing how to do UI for for anything. Not that the Amazon Fire stuff isn't bad. It's just that the hardware they put behind it is cheap. That's how they get it so cheap, and that's how they can throw it into so many homes and whatnot. Like, I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad UI. I hardly use it myself, so I don't really know. But my parents use it, and obviously they can navigate it, so it must work somewhat. You know.
Yeah.
But the hardware behind all that stuff just sucks.
Yeah.
It does.
I think the one thing that in all of that story that stands out to me is the fact that we're talking about what is technically an amazing vehicle and amazing vehicles that are essentially not made for general human consumption. Who can afford it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Who can afford it? And that's the part that sucks, because it would change lives on a grand scale, but we'll never get there. Not at least not in the near future, because it's so fucking expensive.
Yeah, and it's I mean, there's that car is definitely not like Mark has even said it, it's like he's like it's not as much fun to drive it is to be driven around, because the rear passenger seat on the passenger side of the car, obviously not behind the driver, but rear passenger seat, there's an option to fully recline it. It'll motorize the front seat almost completely down, like the headrest touch the dash and moves it forward, and then literally the back seat will bring your legs up like that, and then you can lay out and watch the TV in the back seat of a car while it's driving, which is probably not great for safety, even with the safety belt on. Because, like, you hit at a good speed, you're probably just torpedoing out from underneath that. You know what I mean? Or at least, like, getting your neck caught as you slide down the seat. But, obviously, like, that should be more of, like, I'm just chilling in the back seat, whatever. I'm waiting for it to charge and I'm watching TV. But, like, these people are doing it when they're driving. Yeah. And that's like, bro. I was like, yeah, that's fucking wild. It's just way too much for a fucking car. But also just
way too much,
bro. That's just so expensive. Anyhow, that's it for this week's episode of Comes Naturally. We have been
Joe,
Taj,
and I have been Cody. And as usual, you fuckers just came naturally.
Bye.